this is a special one. This week's question is, who or what inspired you to get into women's football? Moyo, I'm going to come to you first.
Okay, I put US women's national team, and then I put the prefix of World Cup, which is
The 2019?
Yeah, I'll put that one.
James?
The Reggae Girls, 2019 World Cup.
Mine is Liverpool women ex-Chester Uni football. Scott Rogers, Katie Zellum and Martha Harris.
Oh, that's a throwback.
That is a
That's
it's
wicked.
so
When I was at uni.
That's
what I was gonna
That
say.
is sick.
That's nuts. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, it's just, I don't know, we're obviously going to elaborate, but like for me, I obviously like had been to women's football games. I was playing football. I've played football my whole life. I've coached, And I was at uni, started playing again, fell back in love with it. And I was the communications manager or officer, whatever you want to call it. And essentially, it was to run the social media. So weirdly enough, I now work in social media. Like it's kind of like the start. Yeah, full circle. And I reached out to Scott Rogers and I DM'd him and I asked him, at the time he was the manager of Liverpool Women, I asked him if he'd want to come down to Chester Uni to run a session for our women's football team. And he literally replied him, he was like, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's so good.
Honestly, like I had to double check.
That he's been legit.
And he came down, he come with Katie Zellum and Martha Harris. I didn't know he was bringing players. He ran a football session for the Chester campus and the campus over like 10 minutes away. We had a Q&A with him, and it was like the first time a football club or any other sports society team had like brought a professional in to do something with the uni. And yeah, it was like unreal. Like I met Katie Zellum, I met Martha Harris, and I was like, I can do this. Like I want to work in women's football. It's just so cool to like work with players. And yeah, we had like 50 girls come down to the session. Yeah, it's just...
That's a good turnout as well, because I feel like in uni especially, like...
Yeah.
Not that you can't be bothered to do stuff, but like it always feels like effort to actively go and do like sporting activities unless you're already like within a team, for example.
Yeah.
So just for there to be like enough girls to come to a session and say, yeah, we're going to put this on, is huge.
Yeah, and like I literally was like to my mates, you have to come, please come, please come. Genuinely, because I didn't want it to be a bad turnout, it'd be embarrassing. Yeah. And yeah, we had like 50 girls there, we did a Q&A, like we got to meet them. And I think it was from that moment, like I think you can sort of tell them, like it's...
Perhaps, yeah.
I was gassed. But I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to work in football. And that was my first taste of like working with professional footballers and a manager. And I was really proud. I did it off my own back, like no help or handouts. Like I remember like messaging my mates to do like graphics to go on the social media page because I couldn't do graphics or anything at the time.
But you just had the passion.
There we go. James, I want to come to yours. I feel like this seems special. Talk to me.
Oh, I'm just a proud Jamaican, and anytime Jamaica's doing anything, it could be Quidditch, it could be question time.
You support that.
There's a Jamaican question, I care about it. So I remember I was just thinking, wait, those are the colours for Jamaica, and I was like, okay, they're walking out, and I was like, okay, that's the Jamaican women's team. And then I was like, let me just see what's going on. I watched the entire game against Brazil, then I was like, no, I need to keep watching this. Yeah. So then every time Jamaica was on, I was watching the games, but then I ended up watching like Lioness games as well. Yeah. Then I was watching France games and I was like, oh no, this is actually interesting. Just seeing the Reggae Girls there, that's Jamaica, I felt represented. I felt like it could be my mum, my sister. And then I felt heavily invested. I wanted Jamaica to do well. And when they didn't do well, like I still wanted to see whoever beat them, what happens to them afterwards. And then I was just watching the results. And then past the World Cup, I was like, when's women's football on again? So I will forever be grateful to the Reggae Girls for inspiring me that day.
That's wicked. I've never heard that story. Like I love.
Yeah, I didn't know that was his origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it all started.
And Moyo, US women's national team. She went with the big guns.
Yeah, I'm slightly backwards. Like when it comes to like watching sport, yeah. So like I'll see something today and then I have to go back, which is why James, like when me and him were chatting just now, it was like, he was like, oh, but you know this from 2012. Yeah. But once I saw the US women's national team, but then now I have to go back because I need to know, okay, what teams are these that are actually playing on a day-to-day? Okay. And also, do they only look good in this team or do they look good elsewhere?
Yeah.
And then I feel like once I start doing that, I then go down like a rabbit hole. Because I remember one time I was chatting to James and I was like, oh no, I remember like, you know the current crop of like lionesses?
Yeah.
And I was telling him about like, oh, I remember when like Georgia Stanway and Alessia Russo and them were like
breaking
Jordan
through.
in the under-17s tournament. He was like, why do you know about when they went in the under-17s tournament? And I was like, I cannot tell you how I entered this rabbit hole, yeah. But like, I went from watching the women's national team, and it was mainly because like I remember how like certain games were being hyped in this 2019 World Cup specifically.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the year that it was like. There was so much rivalry between like USA and England with the whole like tea drinking and all this.
And the she believes and
precisely.
Yeah.
So like I feel like when I'm watching sports in general, I always pick up on like rivalry and like high competition levels.
Yeah.
And I feel like this World Cup I got exactly that. And then it was a case of me like digging and searching and being like, okay, cool. What's the origin of these people?
Yeah. So you're literally working backwards.
Yeah. But like this was the point that made me want to go backwards. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love that. It's interesting because both of yours are the World Cup. And
Yeah.
that World Cup for me was one of the steps of women's football sort of on the map a little bit more than what it had. So compared to the 2016 World Cup, like the time difference and stuff like that, obviously. But there was a lot more accessibility around women's football. BBC are great at covering it. So yeah, it's crazy, like, because yours is the World Cup, which allows people to get in and the pedestal of the game to be there, whereas this is one of my first things. Like, I think
niche.
I think it's because, but I was playing, I'd been in like academy setup, so like I would watch like Fulham women because I'd been in the setup. Or I remember going to Milton Keynes and watching, I think it was a FA Cup final. This was years ago. Like I begged my dad and his brother to take me.
I didn't know about the whole, so like, in the sense that I've worked backwards, you say you're saying like, oh, Alex Greenwood, and then straight away it clicked for me. I was like, oh, I
that
know
free
what team
kick.
you're talking about.
You remember that, like stuff like that?
So I remember that team, but then I wouldn't have, because I've gone backwards now, I wouldn't have remembered any of the stuff that happened in between.
Yeah.
And then it's like working back, so it's like, oh, so this happened, but this is how this started. But yeah, it's interesting that you say that as well.
It's just good memories. Like when I think of this, I think it like, I've always loved football. Always played it. But I think this for me was sort of like, I can work with female footballers. Like it was just never ever crossed my mind. And then like on the back of this, I sorted a trip for the football team to go and watch England Lionesses at Tranmere Rovers. And like we got tickets, we did a group booking. I think like 20 of us went. We've got a picture of us like outside on the England team bus, and I was like, girls, please can we go? Please can we go? Like honestly, and bearing in mind we're students, so I was like, who's driving the car? We've got to pay everyone £2 for petrol because this person's driving. Make sure everyone puts in. Tickets were like something silly because they were concessions, like £3. I tried to organise it where we're gonna meet the players, but we couldn't get it done. But it was fine because like we were there and like after the game, I remember I got pictures with like Mary Earps, Millie Bright, Tony Duggan, like, and Millie Bright signed my shirt. And do you know what? Just thinking of it just makes me so happy. Like I just love this game. I really do. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like these are just wicked memories. Like that's wicked. Like
I do love that answer.
It's just like the representation, the seeing, as you say, like seeing your mum or seeing your sister, like you going from the big dogs and working your way back. Like the game's just something special, and it just makes me think, like, I'd love to hear everyone's memories of how or what inspired them to start following the game or working in the game, and who continues to do that for them. So this has been Table Talk. It's been a special one. Please let us know in the comments who inspired you or what inspired you to get into women's football, who continues to inspire you, and yeah, I can't wait to hear some of these responses. See you on the next one.